Okay, video 2, here we go. I'm just going to go over how to import assets into Unity or how to import assets from Maya into Unity, as well as going over what exactly prefabs are and why they're really important. But first, let's start here. I am using Maya 2016, and 2016 has a little thing here called Send to Unity, and that makes things really easy. 2015 doesn't have it though, and that's what the school's still using. So in 2015, you'd simply just select the object you want to export, export selection, and you want to change it to an FBX export. Make sure you're exporting it to somewhere you can find it. And here in the geometry tab, I usually just leave triangulate ticked on. I think Unity goes ahead and triangulates it, even if you don't have that ticked on. So even if you import quads into Unity, I think it doesn't care. I think it just turns it into triangles anyways. But for peace of mind, let's just leave that on. Okay, so I already exported the sphere into the folder, into the project folder. So I'm just going to go ahead, click out of that. Let's just launch Unity here. Here's our project, the one we started in video 1. And here we are. Okay. I'm just going to go ahead. I'm going to reset this up. Okay. So, basically starting from new here. Okay, so let's talk about the assets folder. You're going to want to always keep this part as organized as possible. So, let's I've already made some folders here to keep things organized. So let's say you have a bunch of environment assets or like character assets or something, and you're going to want to make folders for each of those and put them where they are supposed to be. To make folders, right click, create folder. Really easy. Okay, so as for importing stuff into Unity, there are two ways to do it. Easiest way, just go to where your object is, and then just drag and drop it like that. Boom, it's right there. Another way to do it, the second way, right click, import new asset, and you just go to where your object is, and then you select it, and then it imports. The only thing about importing it this way is that you can only import one asset at a time. So if you have like 20 or like 5 million assets or something for some reason, it's easier to just go here to your project folder, select all of the assets you want to bring in, and then just drag and drop it in. That's the easiest way to import assets into Unity. Just one more thing I feel like I need to point out about the project browser here. It doesn't actually create copies of your assets. Whatever you see in here is the exact file on the computer, meaning that if you delete any of these assets here, it's permanently deleted from your computer. So let me just show you what I mean. If you go into your project folder, so derpity derp, that's the project folder, the exact same folder here that you see here. You can go into assets, stuff, and you see that the sphere object here is showing up here. If I select this and I'm like, I don't need it anymore, and I just hit delete, it's going to warn you, don't do it, don't kill me, screw it. So now you see that this is gone here. So just be really careful whenever you decide to delete assets in your project folder, because you may or may not need them again, and if you do, they'll be gone forever. So just be careful of that, and know that that happens. So we're just going to re-import that back into here. Okay. So now that that's settled, let's talk about prefabs. Prefabs are a little hard to describe in one line, so I'll just show you what they are, and it'll be easier to see what they are that way. So what you're going to want to do first, you're going to always want to create a folder in your project browser called Prefabs and put all of the prefabs here. So, and we're just going to drag and drop this here. Usually when you, just a note, you see that like it's tiny when you drag and drop it in here. So if you just go here and scale factor, just go ahead and increase that to something like 25. Hit apply, there. Okay. So let's go to the prefabs folder. Here's how you make a prefab. You go, you click on the object in the hierarchy tab here, and you drag and drop it into your project browser, preferably your prefabs folder. This is where the organization comes really handy. Okay, so now that that's done, I'm just going to actually go ahead. It turns out that when you drag and drop it here, from here to here, it actually turns this model into a prefab. So that's a little confusing. So just ignore that. We're going to, for the tutorial's sake, we're just going to drag and drop this here. We're going to make it smaller. So that's the model, the original one that I just dragged and dropped. And here is the prefab. Okay, there we go. So whenever you drag anything from the hierarchy tab into the project browser, it will create a prefab. So now you're probably wondering, like, what's the difference between a model like this and a prefab like this? Well, when you, first off, when you click on the object, it will tell you whether or not it's a prefab. Here I have the model selected, and here I have the prefab selected. So one of the things about prefabs is that if you make any modifications to it, like that, and then you say, oh, that's so ugly, you know, you can just go ahead and click revert here, and it'll go back to the way it was before, to the way it was when you dragged it from the hierarchy tab into the project browser. But there is probably something more important, arguably something more important about this. So the thing with prefabs is that, like, let's say, for example, you're creating an environment and you just say to yourself, oh, I need a lot of, like, spheres for some reason in my environment. You go here to your prefabs folder, drag and drop some more of them in, run there, run there, run there, run there. And you know what, I'm just going to actually go ahead and move those closer together. It's bugging me a little. Yeah. Dragging things into the scene view is a little weird sometimes, but I guess you just get used to it. Okay, so let's say I want to, let's just imagine that I have like 20 of these spheres in here, and there's one attribute I need to add to all of them. So instead of just, if this was like a regular model, then I'd have to probably select each of those models and make the same changes 20 times. But with prefabs, it lets you make all of those changes at once. So let's say I want to add like a collider to all of my prefabs here. And all of them are going to have the same collider. Don't worry what a collider is, just know that I'm changing one of the properties, the same property for each of the prefabs. So let's just say I select this one, go to here, and then I add a box collider. And there we go. You'll see that only this prefab has the box collider, but none of these ones have it either. And you'll know that there's certain texts in the inspector tab that are bolded and certain texts that aren't. So whenever you see a bolded text, that means there's a change applied to this one that the other prefabs don't have. So you can see, for example, with the position and rotation of it, that it's bolded because, well, especially the position one, because they're all in different places, so they're all different in that sense. You'll see that the scale isn't bolded because all the prefabs are the same scale. And box collider is bolded right now because this is the only one that has a box collider, but these ones don't. So that's what the bolded text means. So let's say I want all of these spheres to have the same box collider. I select this prefab and I hit apply after applying the box collider. So let's just hit apply here. And you'll see now that the text here isn't bolded anymore, and that all of these spheres now have box colliders. So I went ahead and I applied the same change to all of them. And you'll also see that when I click and drag another prefab into the scene view, it creates a box collider for that one. So it changes the attributes for all of the same instances of the prefab, or all of the instances of the same prefab. Man, that's a tongue twister. Okay. Another way you can make changes, you can just go ahead and let's just select let's select the main one, the main prefab right here in the project browser. And then if you decide, oh, they're too big, you just go ahead. You can notice that the moment I changed the scale here, it changes all of them in the scene view as well. So let's just say I want to make it smaller, like that. So prefabs are really just a way for you to make changes to many of the same instances of the same prefab at once. It just lets you make changes much more quickly. So that's why they're really important to know about and really important to use as frequently as you can when working in Unity. Okay, so that's the lesson, and hopefully I can get into importing animation and stuff in the next video after I learn about it. So yeah, I'll see you guys there.